A folk museum that nobody ever visits. But sealed inside are countless demons and monsters. That's because the man who guards this place is the last colonel of the directorate of this era. He's specially tasked with hunting down and executing all sorts of demons and monsters. It turns out, this is a world where spiritual energy is reawakening. And ancient demons have reappeared on Earth. Our protagonist, Wei Yuan, is just an unemployed young man with no job. Fortunately, his family had a rundown little house that was passed down to him. So, you could say he's a homeowner now. And on the very day he moved in, he saw a body being carried away from the apartment complex across the street. At first, he thought it was just an ordinary tragedy. But after the police car left, a sudden clatter echoed from inside his house. As Wei Yuan curiously headed back inside, he noticed something. The plaque that he had laid down flat had suddenly stood itself upright. Wei Yuan picked up the waste plaque to take a closer look. On it were carved the words Colonel of the Directorate of the Great Han. Just as he was wondering what this thing was, a vision of a ferocious, roaring tiger suddenly appeared, leaving Wei Yuan completely stunned. He thought to himself, this plaque my grandfather left. It couldn't be some kind of divine artifact, could it? Then, Wei Yuan saw the character for Wei carved on the back of the plaque. It was the same as his own surname. He figured it must be some kind of family heirloom. So does this mean my ancestors were once a big deal? Just as Wei Yuan was feeling a thrill of excitement, the tip of his finger felt like it was pricked by something. Instinctively letting go because of the sharp pain, the plaque fell with a clatter onto a piece of scratch paper on the desk. A drop of crimson blood from his finger happened to land right in the middle of that plaque. And then, on that ordinary piece of scratch paper, lines of solemn, chilling text began to emerge. Hear ye, in this time of chaos from the scourge of witchcraft, an evil aura has tainted the divine land. All those under the command of the Colonel of the Directorate of the Great Han. Those who dare to trespass upon our divine land, be they strange forces or chaotic spirits, shall all be hunted down and executed. And next to the text was a drawing of a pair of red embroidered shoes. Wei Yuan took it, completely baffled. Is this a wanted poster? So, does that mean the red shoes are the target? Something this strange must mean trouble. I guess I should start by looking it up online. So, Wei Yuan began to search for any information he could find online. First up was the Silly Xiaowei. It was formerly known as Wohu. It was an organization established by Emperor Wu of Han. Their duty was to investigate witchcraft and execute monsters and unruly spirits. With that, peace was brought to the land from ghosts and evil affairs. They were military officials from ancient times. As for the red shoes, he couldn't find any similar photos or anything like that. But in a news report about a recent murder case, he noticed the description of an item related to red embroidered shoes. The victim was a young woman. Her death seemed to be connected to a pair of red embroidered shoes. Most importantly, the victim was the one Wei Yuan had seen not long ago. The body that was carried away from the neighboring residential complex. Suddenly, he remembered something. The moment the waste token had reacted earlier was exactly when that body was being carried away. Could there really be a connection? Before Wei Yuan could figure it all out, he noticed a thick fog suddenly appearing at his door. And deep within the fog, a faint red light began to glow. Curious, Wei Yuan walked toward the red light. Then, he inexplicably found himself in front of an ancient building. A clear singing voice could be heard from nearby. Gradually, he followed the sound to a courtyard house. In the middle was a crooked-necked old locust tree, already dead. Its branches were covered with white silk ribbons. Under the tree was an old well. Sitting on the edge of the well was a woman in a wedding dress. But when he got a clear look at her face, he realized she was a terrifying female ghost. Just as she was about to kill Wei Yuan, at that critical moment, the vision of the tiger's roar appeared again. A furious roar sent the female ghost flying. Model. The entire scene suddenly shattered. Wei Yuan was jolted awake. It turned out to be a nightmare. He looked at the time and realized it was already 3 a.m. He felt very confused. When did I even fall asleep? Suddenly, Wei Yuan's phone notified him of a new email. Scheduled meeting. Museum. Wei Yuan didn't quite remember applying to this museum. But the end of the email read, 5,000 a month, room and board included. Naturally, Wei Yuan's interest was piqued. The next day, he arrived at the museum right on time. He walked in and saw the owner himself was conducting the interviews. The owner very directly asked Wei Yuan, "Are you afraid of ghosts?" Wei Yuan said confidently, "I'm a materialist. What ghosts?" But even though that's what he said, his body was much more honest. He had secretly brought his silly Xiaowei waste token with him. Seeing how full of vitality and confidence Wei Yuan was, the owner didn't press the issue. After all, the young man had sent in his resume himself. At 3 in the morning, it wasn't like he was forcing him to work here. He then took Wei Yuan to get familiar with the work environment. What came into view was an ancient architectural style. It looked quite nice, but Wei Yuan felt a gloomy chill in the air. Especially these paper effigies. They were incredibly sinister. After a tour, Wei Yuan realized this museum's collection was full of things you rarely see in modern society. But he had to admit, "Boss, this place of yours is huge." The owner heard this and sighed, "Of course it is. This was my son's life's work. Alright, next I'll show you to your room." But when they arrived at the door, the owner seemed hesitant. Seeing this, Wei Yuan just said he'd go in by himself. Looks like there really is something off about this museum. Luckily, I brought the waste token. I need to check every part of this place thoroughly. If the crouching tiger waste token shows any unusual activity, it'll prove that there's something terrifying here. What Wei Yuan didn't know was, the owner had indeed seen some eerie things. For instance, knocking sounds on the door late at night for no reason. Bloodstains seeping from the walls. And a figure wrapped in a blanket chasing him. Just then, Wei Yuan, having finished checking the rooms, came out wrapped in a blanket. It scared the owner so much his eyes nearly popped out of his head. Wei Yuan said, a little embarrassed. "It's mainly because it's too cold in here. So I just grabbed a blanket from the room to use." Although he was startled by Wei Yuan, the owner could tell he was a good fit for this place. So, he didn't delay any longer, and took out the employment contract. He explained that after Wei Yuan started the job, he wouldn't need to do anything. He just had to keep the museum open. He would pay for all the utilities. Then, on top of his salary, he'd give Wei Yuan an extra 800 for food. And when Wei Yuan saw that his waste token wasn't reacting at all, it meant that there was nothing wrong with the museum. So he signed it without hesitation. Finally, the owner gave the museum keys to Wei Yuan. But before leaving, he still gave Wei Yuan an option. If he really didn't want to do the job anymore, he should just let him know. Maybe this museum really shouldn't stay open after all. With that said, he drove away. And Wei Yuan could pretty much guess that this museum probably did have some strange things in it. But since the waste token didn't even give a warning, it proved that it wasn't a major problem. However, what Wei Yuan didn't know was, at that very moment, behind him, Wei Yuan, who had just seen the museum owner off, was completely unaware that there was a water ghost behind him. When the water ghost tapped him on the shoulder, the silly Xiaowei waste token began to flash with a brilliant golden light. The immense yang energy instantly seared the water ghost badly. At this point, Wei Yuan finally noticed there was something unclean behind him. But he wasn't afraid. Instead, he grabbed the waste token and charged at it threateningly. He easily sent the water ghost flying with his waste token. After feeling a sensation like hitting cotton, Wei Yuan was ecstatic. So this is what it feels like to beat up a ghost. Seeing the water ghost's footprints indicating it was trying to escape, Wei Yuan had no intention of letting it get away so easily. He hadn't had his fill of fun yet. He yelled and chased after it. The water ghost was totally freaked out. "Hey, who's the ghost here, you or me? Don't get so cocky, kid. I've got my ghost bros and sisters to back me up." But Wei Yuan could only vaguely see the ghostly figures with the help of his token. He couldn't hear the ghosts speak at all, let alone their threats. So, without a word, he pinned it down and started pummeling it. Meanwhile, off to the side, the ghost bros and sisters the water ghost mentioned were secretly drinking coke. Watching the whole scene with great interest, the water ghost was speechless when it saw this. "You damn traitors, aren't you going to come and save me?" The soldier ghost told it to cut it out. "This young fella's yang energy is so strong. Even at night, when our yin energy is strongest, we might not be able to do anything to him. Let alone right now. Let's just stick to drinking our coke. Gotta say, this stuff from the new era, it's pretty darn good." Although Wei Yuan hadn't opened his celestial eye yet, so he couldn't see these ghosts. With his token, he could still vaguely sense a few more ghosts over by the coke. So he didn't let them off either. He gave them all a good thrashing. He beat the ghosts so badly they started questioning their own existence. This kid has no honor. He won't even spare us old folks. Then, Wei Yuan got a prompt from his waste token. These ghosts were merely wandering souls. They had never feasted on flesh and blood, held no grudges, and were harmless. Therefore, there was no need to exterminate them. No wonder Wei Yuan found them so easy to deal with. Turns out they were just harmless wandering souls. Right now, he has to rely on his waste token, just to barely see the outlines of some ghostly figures. What is he going to do if he encounters a truly malevolent spirit in the future? Just as Wei Yuan was stumped by this problem, the waste token activated again. It indicated that anyone belonging to the silly commandery, as long as they slay demons and ghosts, could use their merits to open the Great Han Treasury and retrieve treasures and weapons for exorcising evil. This was something Wei Yuan hadn't expected. The waste token actually has a treasury function? But that doesn't seem to solve my problem of seeing ghosts, does it? As if the waste token knew what he was thinking, it prompted him again, showing there were a total of 5 unorthodox methods to do so. These methods could open one's spiritual sight without needing any cultivation, allowing one to perceive both the yin and yang worlds. But the first few methods the token suggested. One required Wei Yuan to kill a yellow ox to collect its tears. And another wanted him to kill a green-eyed crow to swallow its eyeballs. Just the thought of it made him sick. Fortunately, the last method was one he could accept. Wiping his eyes with willow leaves could temporarily activate the yin-yang eye technique. but it required soaking a yin object in morning dew. Seeing that he needed a yin object, Wei Yuan looked over at the wandering spirits with a mischievous grin. This instantly startled them. Later, when Wei Yuan had prepared the dew and willow leaves, two of the little ghosts came forward, trembling. It was as if they were offering themselves as a sacrifice. Of course, Wei Yuan wasn't deranged enough to soak them, so he had the three wandering spirits hand over their respective yin objects. But it was either a rotten fishing net or a bottle of dichlorobus. Luckily, the yin object from the last spirit, the ancient soldier, was a broken sword. Wei Yuan soaked it together with the willow leaves. It should be ready around midnight. After getting that sorted, Wei Yuan prepared to go home and pack some things. Before leaving, he warned the wandering spirits to behave and not cause any trouble. Time flew by, and soon it was night. Wei Yuan returned to the museum, and the first thing he did was try the willow leaf eye opening method. As it turned out, he could really see the ghosts. And not only that, he could also hear their conversations. It was at that very moment that Wei Yuan overheard what the water ghost said. There was actually a girl standing right behind him. He immediately turned around to look. He discovered it was the female ghost from his dream, the one who wanted to kill him. And to think he'd previously believed it was just a simple nightmare. He never expected it to be real. Just then, the water ghost enthusiastically went up to her. "Hey there, new sis. Where did you die?" But Wei Yuan knew just how dangerous she was. He quickly told the water ghost to come back. But before the water ghost could even react, he was pierced through the chest by the red-clad ghost's long hair. Just as he was about to be transformed into a vengeful spirit, Wei Yuan decided to act. Otherwise, he'd be facing two vengeful spirits. There was no way he could handle that. So, he grabbed the broken spectral sword, and using the intimidating tiger's roar from the crouching tiger waist token, with one swift strike, he severed the hair trapping the water ghost. Then he had the soldier and big sis rescue him. But at that very moment, Wei Yuan felt a wave of weakness. It seemed that every time he used the crouching tiger waist token, a portion of his own energy was drained. And this time, it hadn't managed to scare the female ghost away. It appeared the female ghost was even more powerful in reality than in his dream. This plunged Wei Yuan into a crisis. Seeing this, he couldn't help but get angry. "Hey, can't you be a little reasonable? I have no grudge against you. So why do you insist on coming after me?" Who would have thought that this scolding would only enrage the female ghost even more? Since it had come to this, Wei Yuan decided to go all out. "Today, even if I have to drain myself completely dry, I'm going to make you bald." But before Wei Yuan could make his desperate move, a bolt of lightning suddenly flashed and thundered down from the sky. It landed right in front of Wei Yuan. The female ghost was so frightened by it that she fled. The water ghost and big sis ghost, who had just come to their senses, were completely stunned. This guy is incredible. He scared off a vengeful spirit just with his words. The much more experienced soldier ghost patted the water ghost on the head. "What are you two thinking? This is the second lunar month, when all living things are stirred by the quake of thunder. It's called the awakening of insects." Turns out, the vicious ghost was simply scared off by the thunder. At that moment, the exhausted Wei Yuan couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed. When he woke up again, he found himself lying in bed. The wandering spirits were all looking at him with joy. After all, Wei Yuan was the one who had saved them. Naturally, they didn't want anything to happen to him. And just then, crouching tiger waist token stirred again. Because Wei Yuan had repelled the vicious ghost, he was awarded 1 merit point. One of the mastery methods of the Colonel Director, the ghost expelling divine art, could not only banish wandering spirits that refused to leave, but could also use some of the spirit's abilities. Wei Yuan immediately thought of the water ghosts. If he could just convince them to be commanded by him, he'd have more confidence when facing vicious ghosts in the future. Just as he was about to make this suggestion, he realized that the ghosts who were just there a moment ago had suddenly vanished. Suddenly, Wei Yuan heard the sound of dripping water. He looked toward the source of the sound, and saw a pair of red embroidered shoes, covered in water stains, placed beside him. Wei Yuan instantly knew it was the female ghost's doing. Shoes facing the bed means a ghost gets in the bed. It seemed she was dead set on haunting him. This made Wei Yuan even more determined to become stronger. So, he went and found the water ghosts, and asked about their respective abilities. But the water ghost was just a fishing enthusiast who had accidentally drowned. All he knew how to do was fish. The big sister ghost was even more useless. She was just a plain air painter who could draw. She had died from accidentally ingesting pesticides. These two abilities really gave Wei Yuan a headache. They were completely useless against that female ghost. Fortunately, the soldier ghost's background was decent. He said he had served under Marshal Qi, and had cut down a few Japanese pirates. Then, somehow, he'd just woken up in the modern era. When Wei Yuan heard this, he thought, "Wait, you were in the Qi family army. Man, you must have been dead for a long time. You're a ghost who's hundreds of years old. It's nothing like in the stories. He didn't turn into some ghost king or general. So, do you know swordsmanship or anything like that?" The soldier ghost said broadswords, wakizashis, and spears. And halberds. He knew a little of everything. It was all just basic martial arts. Nothing compared to the generals. But Wei Yuan was already very satisfied. At the very least, it was a very useful ability. He finally had a subject on which to use his ghost-driving divine ability. So, Wei Yuan told the soldier ghost about it, and asked if he would be willing to cooperate. The soldier ghost told Wei Yuan not to be so formal. If his 7-foot body could still be of use, then he should just go ahead and use it. Seeing this, Wei Yuan used his ghost-driving divine ability for the first time. He placed the ghost-driving spiritual talisman on the soldier ghost's head. Instantly, it transformed into a puff of ghostly energy, and took up residence in Wei Yuan's right hand, ready to be used at any time. The soldier ghost then asked, "My lord, what should we do next?" "Well, it would be rude not to return the favor. Since that female ghost came knocking on our door, we should give her a proper response." Seeing this, the water ghost exclaimed in amazement, "Master, you're so badass. You're already preparing to go subjugate that fierce ghost." But who would have known that what Wei Yuan meant was, "File a report. We have to file a police report." This left both the water ghost and the big sister ghost speechless. Getting the police to catch a ghost? Young man, you must be out of your mind. But of course, Wei Yuan had his own reasons for doing this. Since the female ghost was real, that meant the courtyard from his dream was also real. According to the tales of the strange and supernatural, a place like that is definitely where a ghost's lingering obsession lies. If he could find it, it should prove useful in dealing with the female ghost. And if he took the red embroidered shoe to the police, maybe they could help him find the place. So, Wei Yuan put the red embroidered shoe in a box, and took it to the police station to file a report. After listening to what Wei Yuan had to say, he was soon approached by someone who claimed to be from the special operations team. A woman named Zhou Yi met with him. Right away, she asked, "Are you saying you've encountered a ghost?" Wei Yuan handed her a portrait, confirming that he had. He explained that he'd been dreaming of a female ghost, and of a courtyard house with a locust tree, among other things. Hearing what Wei Yuan said, and the fact that he happened to live near the girl who had died, Zhou Yi suspected he was most likely being haunted by a vengeful spirit. It was just that Wei Yuan's energetic state made her feel uncertain. She asked Wei Yuan if he had anything else to add. If not, she would have to use some special methods to verify his claims. Wei Yuan then took out a box containing a pair of red embroidered shoes. When she saw the red embroidered shoes, Zhou Yi's face filled with shock. She quickly called her team members to confirm something. It wasn't long before she got confirmation. The red shoes on the victim's body were, in fact, missing. What's more, the talismans they had set up were completely ineffective. It couldn't suppress it at all. The female ghost was at least a vengeful spirit, possibly even stronger. At that moment, back in the reception room, Zan Yi and Zhao Yi politely greeted Wei Yuan. Zhou Yi explained that they were both disciples of the Weiming sect. "They're also my team members. The ones I just contacted by phone." Zan Yi didn't waste any time. He took out a blank sheet of paper and a sketching pencil, prepared to have Wei Yuan describe the courtyard from his dream in detail, so he could draw it. But Wei Yuan was already prepared. He handed the portrait over for him to see. After looking at it, Zan Yi was stunned speechless. Zhou Yi and the others were a bit confused. "What are you so shocked about?" But as it turned out, Zan Yi was simply floored by the incredible artistic skill. It was far better than his own. This left the other two speechless. Of course, this wasn't Wei Yuan's artwork. He had previously used his ghost exercising ability to control the Big Sister ghost to draw it. After all, Big Sister had been a professional landscape painter. It would be strange if her drawing wasn't good. After that, Wei Yuan got straight to the point. Since the courtyard is the place where the female ghost from the dream stays, it should help in subduing her, right? Zhou Yi explained, "That's right. The fundamental principle of a vengeful spirit is its intense negative emotion, which gets amplified by aligning with certain spiritually potent locations in the world. And because this alignment happens when their negative emotions are at their absolute peak, they merge with a corresponding physical location. This negative emotion then grows stronger and stronger, making them extremely malevolent." As she spoke, she used her smoke ability, gradually forming the image of each class of ghost: wandering spirits, resentful ghosts, malicious ghosts, and vengeful spirits. She then explained that unlike the first few, vengeful spirits are basically on a whole different level of power. They also have their own unique circumstances and histories. Confronting one head-on is never a wise move. As long as you can find the source of the vengeful spirit's negative emotions, you'll have a chance to weaken it. Then you can seize that opportunity to subdue it and reduce it to dust. Vengeful spirits were once human, but now, they are perpetually trapped in a state of intense negative emotion that is far beyond the scope of human comprehension. You could say their existence is a fate worse than death. That's why both Buddhists and Taoists also refer to this act of dispersing a ghost as liberation. Seeing Zhou Yi display such an ability, Wei Lan finally realized this so-called special operations team was no joke. And just at that moment, Zhan Yi excitedly said, "Captain, I found it. It's an old opera house in the former Jiangnan province. It seems it produced a few famous performers, but it was sealed off after some kind of incident." Zhou Yi immediately decided to set off for Jiangnan to deal with the female ghost. But she didn't take Wei Yuan with her, because she assumed Wei Yuan was just an ordinary person. Before leaving, Zhan Yi came over and gave Wei Yuan a talisman to prevent him from getting entangled with the female ghost again. But Wei Yuan asked with confusion, "Aren't these talismans unable to restrain that female ghost?" Hearing this, Zhan Yi became instantly annoyed. "Seriously? You just had to bring up a sore subject. Fine, then take two, will that work for you?" After saying that, he gave Wei Yuan another talisman. Finally, Zhao Yi took out a non-disclosure agreement for Wei Yuan. Just have him sign it and give it to any officer. After giving his instructions, the group immediately set off for Jiangnan. But right after they left, a thick white fog unexpectedly rose up in the reception room. When Wei Yuan saw this familiar scene, he instantly realized he had been dragged into a dreamscape again. This time, he saw many people kneeling on both sides. There were old people and children among them. Suddenly, the female ghost's voice echoed from behind him. "You're here again." Wei Yuan was just about to use his crouching tiger waist token. But after searching all over his body, he couldn't find it. And just like that, the female ghost easily pierced through his chest. But at that critical moment, the dream was shattered once again. Looking at the two burning talismans in front of him, Wei Yuan realized that they were what had saved him. He couldn't help but feel a wave of lingering fear. This female ghost was truly terrifying. To think she could affect reality from within a dream. But it was precisely because of this that Wei Yuan knew he couldn't just sit around and wait to die. He decided to go to Jiangnan himself to deal with that female ghost. A few days later, Wei Yuan arrived at a dilapidated courtyard in Jiangnan. As he entered, he saw an old man sitting in front of a locust tree. Upon seeing Wei Yuan, the old man spoke with surprise. "It's been a long time since anyone visited this little place of mine. This is quite a rare occasion. You must be joking, old sir. Has no one really come to visit you before?" The old man replied that everyone he knew was already dead. Over time, their descendants slowly stopped visiting. Upon hearing this, Wei Yuan glanced at the well to the side, then at the mole on the old man's face. He realized something. Gradually, the face of the old man before him, and the face of the kneeling child from the dream a few days ago, began to overlap in his mind. He realized the child was actually the old man in his youth. The old man didn't seem to notice anything was amiss. Instead, he started making small talk with Wei Yuan. "Young man, what's that you're carrying on your back?" Wei Yuan explained that he played traditional-style musical instruments. "I came out specifically to gather inspiration." Of course, he was just making that up. How would he know anything about wind instruments? He had just found an 8-faceted Han sword in a museum to use as a weapon. But a sword wasn't easy to carry openly, so he had no choice but to hide it inside the instrument. Just then, the old man suddenly mentioned that yesterday, a few other young people had come by, but they didn't even enter the gate before turning around and leaving. When Wei Yuan heard this, he realized, isn't that Zhou Yi and her group? So, he had really found the right place. But since they knew this was the courtyard, why didn't they come in? Suddenly, Wei Yuan sensed that something was wrong with this place. In the garden, there is a tree, and its name means trapped. Beneath the tree is a ghost, which must be a locust tree spirit. In other words, this old gentleman was actually already dead. No wonder Zhou Yi and the others didn't come in. They must have thought it was unnecessary. But Wei Yuan could also see that the old man had no ill intentions. So, he tentatively asked, "Sir, I'd like to ask you about someone. The girl who was once the best singer in all of Jiangnan." The old man was extremely surprised when he heard this. "How do you know about her?" Wei Yuan explained that through a fortunate coincidence, "I learned a few things." Seemingly reminded of a memory by that sentence, the old man's expression grew weary, and he closed his eyes. As if he had aged even more in an instant, he sighed in a low voice, "It's good that someone knows. I thought I was going to take these things to my grave." This story, it has to start from the last years of the Great Ming Dynasty. Here in Jiangnan, there used to be an opera house called the Spring Dawn Pavilion. That winter, the madam of the Spring Dawn Pavilion brought back a little girl. The little girl's name was Qi Niang. She was beautiful and had a lovely voice. The year she turned 16, she debuted on stage for the first time, and became famous overnight. Countless high officials and nobles came to hear her sing. The red silk satin sent by her patrons was tied, bolt after bolt, onto the wooden pavilion, as passionate and vibrant as a crimson cloud. Now, in the normal course of things, Qi Niang would have continued to sing into her 20s. At that point, she would either retire to teach the new girls, or marry a man from a good family and live a respectable life. But when are things ever that simple? In the very year that Qi Niang found the one she loved, Japanese pirates invaded the border and entered Jiangnan. They demanded the finest wine and the best food, to hear the most beautiful songs, and to have the most beautiful women accompany them. Otherwise, they would begin a massacre. Qi Niang was young, but her spirit was fierce. She would rather die, but on that day, the 30-odd people of the Chenxiaolu knelt before her door. Even the madam who had raised her begged and pleaded. And so, in the end, Xiniang went to accompany those Japanese pirates. Not a single person in the Chenxiaolu died. Later, the Great Ming's valiant generals wiped out those pirates. Life in Jiangnan returned to normal. Then came the malicious rumors and the pointing fingers. Everyone knows that forcing someone else to sacrifice themselves for you is a very shameful thing to live with. So, they had to tarnish her name to grant themselves the moral high ground. Those people, they actually claimed that Xiniang went to accompany the pirates willingly. Everyone condemned Xiniang as a singer with no integrity. But Xiniang was still waiting for the man who had promised her a future. The one who was currently away at his studies. But in the end, that man never returned. And so, Xiniang finally put on the wedding dress she had sewn for herself and threw herself into the well. Hearing this, Wei Yuan sighed aloud. No matter the era, human nature is always the same. The date Xiniang drowned herself in the well was supposed to be in early autumn. Yet the sky began to fill with a vast, white snow. I suppose even heaven itself felt it was unfair to her. Just as the old man finished speaking, it suddenly began to snow heavily in the sky as well. Wei Yuan froze, stunned. Hasn't spring just begun? Why is it snowing? Suddenly, a pillar of green light rose from the mouth of the well in front of Wei Yuan. After it dissipated, he curiously looked down and found the old man's withered bones. Indeed, the man had been dead for a long time. Afterward, Wei Yuan asked about the man Qi Niang loved. So, did that man betray Qi Niang, too? The old man sighed and said, he let her down, and yet he didn't. Because he went to join the army. He was part of the main force that resisted the mad onslaught of the Woku pirates back then. He wrote many letters to Qi Niang. He wanted to come back, but it was no longer possible. He's dead, killed in battle, just 3 days off. The compensation report and those letters would have reached Jiangnan, and Qi Niang wouldn't have had to die. What a pity, it was all a cruel twist of fate. Hearing this, Wei Yuan's mood grew heavy. Can I see those letters? The old man then took out a small box. Inside was a faded photo and a stack of letters. Go ahead, these stories can't be forgotten. Even after I'm gone, someone has to know. You see, I still owe Qi Niang 3 heavy kowtows. I want to tell her I'm sorry. Back then, I was too afraid to die to speak up for her. Wei Yuan knew this was their past. The final obsession of that vengeful spirit. If they were burned and the ashes mixed into talisman water, it would be enough to inflict immense harm on the vengeful spirit. And if they were burned right in front of the vengeful spirit, it could even cause the spirit to have a mental breakdown on the spot. Just then, the spirit of a soldier from the Qi family army appeared. He pleaded with some hesitation. Sir, I can sense the ardent affection in these letters. Hope for the future, and a deep love for the land beneath our feet. I beg you not to burn them. Wei Yuan gave him a reassuring look, telling him not to worry. I will not burn the letters. Having made his decision, Wei Yuan invited the old gentleman to go with him to the Chenxiao pavilion to see Qi Niang. But the old man said the sunlight outside was too harsh, model. His body could no longer move. He had tried many times, but he could never leave this courtyard. As long as his obsession remained, his soul could not disperse. Trapped in this small space, he was what's known as an earthbound spirit. But what was truly binding this old man's soul? Was it the land, or was it the matter in his heart that he refused to let go of? After some thought, Wei Yuan decided to lend him a hand. So he went out, bought an umbrella, and came back to shield him from the sun. Then, he broke a branch from the locust tree, and personally helped the old man up to leave. At the same time, Wei Yuan noticed that under the locust tree, a faint shadow was dressed in ancient clothing. On its cuffs were the embroidered words Mr. Y. It was bowing slightly towards Wei Yuan. I'm indebted to you, sir. Hearing this, Wei Yuan knew he had done the right thing. Meanwhile, over at the Chenxiao Tower, Zhou Yi and the other two were desperately fighting Qi Niang. But they had clearly underestimated Qi Niang's power. The Qi Niang of today was at least a ghost of the fierce calamity level. All 3 of them were already wounded. Zhou Yi knew that their mission had failed. She prepared to use a communication talisman to call for backup. But to her despair, it couldn't even send a communication talisman out. Just at this life or death moment, a Qin case flew over and successfully saved Zhou Yi. The newcomer was, of course, Wei Yuan, who had accompanied the old man. Wei Yuan of Quanzhou, invited by Qi Niang, has come to listen to a song. And the moment he saw Qi Niang, the old man rushed forward emotionally. Wei Yuan didn't stop him. He knew the old man was merely a spiritual body born of obsession. Clearly, this was what he had hoped for. After reaching Qi Niang, the old man fell to his knees. He began to kowtow deeply to Qi Niang. Qi Niang, little Shiwu has come to kowtow to you. It was I who wronged you. This is what I should have given back to you all along. A piece of candy appeared in his hand. Qi Niang, the candy you gave me all those years ago. I've kept it all this time. I owe you so much. As he spoke, the old man's mind flashed back to that scene from the past. A smiling Qi Niang gave him a piece of candy. And then, without a moment's hesitation, she jumped into the well. And he, just a child back then, couldn't stop her in time. He could only watch helplessly as Qi Niang died. Qi Niang, please, let me repay you with this life of mine. Xiao Shi Wu will be going on ahead. His heart's burden was finally lifted. The old man's spirit began to dissipate into the world. But Qi Niang's expression didn't change in the slightest. It turned out the burden was only the old man's. It was never Qi Niang's burden to begin with. Seeing this, Wei Yuan knew it was his time to act. He decisively drew the Han sword hidden in his chin case, wielding it along with the short blade of the Qi family army's military soul. And with his battle-hardened skills, he rushed forward, slashing with a weapon in each hand, and engaged Qi Niang in a fierce battle. His swordsmanship was like that of a master. It left Zhou Yi and the others completely stunned, but they all knew that even so, he definitely couldn't defeat this female ghost. And just as expected, Wei Yuan was soon at a disadvantage. He was aware of this, but his real goal was just to find a way to get close to Qi Niang. After getting wounded, Wei Yuan quickly shouted, "Fu Xiangyi did not abandon you." As soon as he said this, Qi Niang stopped her attack. Wei Yuan then continued to explain. Fu Xiangyi of Jiangnan province joined the army in the 17th year of the reign of Emperor Ming Lai Wu. He died a hero's death defending our divine land. These are his posthumous belongings. A portion was for his parents, but the letters and the death benefits were addressed to his wife, Wan Qi Niang. With that, he took out all the letters he had gotten from that box and scattered them into the air. Inside, they read, "All my life, I have loved books, paintings, and flowers, as well as fine wine and beautiful women. None of it compares to my love for you. And yet, my heart for you cannot compare to my profound love for our country. Now that our divine land is in peril, we must lay down our lives for the nation. If I am fated to return alive, I will listen to you play your music in Jiangnan. And in this life, we shall never be parted again. If I am not destined to return, then wherever you sing within our divine land, I will be able to hear you. Our generation must stand with our homeland. And to you, my words remain the same. In this life, there will be no parting while living, only a farewell in death. The final words of your husband, Fu Pengyi." After Qi Niang finished reading, she was instantly overcome with unbearable sorrow. All the resentment that had taken root in her body dissipated completely with her tears. She slowly walked outside the building. At that moment, a light rain was falling from the sky, as if it were announcing her utter heartbreak. After waiting quietly for a moment, Qi Niang turned around, knelt, and kowtowed to Wei Yuan. "Thank you, young master." Wei Yuan stepped forward and asked, "Miss Wan, are you clear-headed now?" "Thanks to you, young master, I am." Wei Yuan then asked her if she had any other wishes. Qi Niang was taken aback. She never thought he would ask such a thing. She was about to say that she had no wishes. But, clutching the letter she had never received, and thinking of what her beloved Fu had written, she heard herself say, as if possessed, "I want to see this era. Is that possible? This is the land that my dear Fu loved and protected." Zhang Yi's expression changed, and he quickly stepped in front of her. He said urgently, "Absolutely not. We can't be certain that she is harmless." Seeing this, Wei Yuan decisively flicked his long sword aside. Then, he jabbed him with the hilt. He then said apologetically, "I have wronged you today. I will surely make it up to you another day." After speaking, he held the umbrella for Qi Niang in the same manner. "Then, allow me to accompany you on one more walk through Jiangnan City." Looking at the surrounding environment, so strange yet so familiar, Qi Niang couldn't help but sigh with emotion. "I can't believe this place is still the same as it was back then. I still remember when I was a little girl. I ran through here so many times. Every morning, people from the nearby villages would come to both sides of the street to sell vegetables. In the winter, there were even persimmons covered in frost. Old Shen's soy sauce was sold right here. And over there was a tiny noodle shop. Just 3 tables, and each person would have a small bowl of noodles. A little spoonful of soy sauce, so authentic. When I was young, I often imagined that when my dear Fu and I grew old, we would walk slowly down this street, arm in arm. We'd watch others buy their vegetables and watch the children run about. Thinking back on it now, I really shouldn't have dreamed so much." Later, they arrived in front of an old building that had long been closed. Qi Niang said, "This was Jishang Fang. I loved buying my rouge here more than anywhere else. I always thought that no matter how the world changed, there would always be young women wanting to paint their brows and lips. I thought this shop would never close. Who would have thought that the young women of today no longer use rouge?" My Fu used to say that the changes in the world are beyond human imagination. I suppose this is what he meant. When she saw the bustling city center, filled with traffic, Qi Niang stopped and would go no further. "I had wanted to see the new Jiangnan for my Fu, but all my eyes can see are the scenes of the past. I must seem foolish to you, young master, since no one uses rouge anymore. Then I suppose the old songs are no longer sung. And no one listens to them either, right?" Wei Yuan replied, "There are. Many people still love the traditional opera style of singing on this ancient land, although there are many new things. The old ways haven't been forgotten. They continue to live on, just in new forms. To be inclusive and tolerant is a great strength. China has never lacked such magnanimity. And as for those who should be remembered, we will never forget them, either. After that, they came to a martyr's cemetery. Wei Yuan pointed to a stone monument before them. Miss Wan, please look. The names of those from Jiangnan province who sacrificed their lives for the country are all written here, one by one. I've been afraid of ghosts since I was a child. Many people are. I've always avoided going to cemeteries, let alone at night. The martyr's cemetery is different, because even children know that the heroic spirits will protect them. We who came after them should all be grateful to them. And I'm grateful to you as well. Wan Qingyang counted them one by one, until she finally saw that familiar name, Fu Pengyi. Tears instantly began to stream down her face. Just then, Wei Yuan asked her again, is there anywhere else you'd like to go? Qi Niang shook her head. No, there isn't. After she said this, Wei Yuan's crouching tiger waist token began to tremble slightly. This time, there was no need for it to be printed on paper. Text had already appeared in Wei Yuan's consciousness. Vengeful spirit has vanished. The captain of the Capital Guards gains 7 merit points. Transformation initiated. Captain of the Capital Guards basic divine ability, Spirit Infusion, 2nd rank. Transformation initiated. Captain of the Capital Guards dossier, Spirit Infusion. Of monsters, mayhem, and miracles, Divine 5. Meanwhile, Zhou Yi and the others had sneakily approached nearby. Qi Niang noticed them as well. She seemed to have thought of something. Young master, there's something else you want to tell me, isn't there? Is it because I attacked you before? At that moment, Wei Yuan had already closed his umbrella and taken the Han sword out of the zither case again. Qi Niang, you've killed people. Innocent people, at that. As he spoke, Wei Yuan ran his right hand over the sword's blade. As the blood flowed, it left a golden trace on the blade's edge. It was the spirit infusion ability he had just learned. Imbuing a weapon with spirit can harm ghouls and demons. Qi Niang's experience, her past despair, the wickedness of the human heart. The reason she became a vengeful spirit. And that time she passed by the residential complex. The heart-wrenching wail of the mother who had lost everything. It was as if it was all happening right before my eyes. Whether you're a captain of the Crouching Tigers or a wandering hero, sometimes there's nothing you can do to change things. Perhaps this is just what life is really like. All Wei Yuan could do was make the murderer pay with their life. I am Wei Yuan, Colonel of the Capital Command of the Great Han. I am here to see Miss Wan on her final journey. Seeing this, Wan Qingyang was remarkably calm. Oh, is that so? But I won't be taken without a fight. The moment she finished speaking, she transformed back into her vengeful spirit form. Come on, let's see which one of us makes it out of this alive. Just a moment ago, Wei Yuan had accompanied Qingyang, walking with her one last time through the places where she used to live, fulfilling her final wish. But in the end, Qingyang had still harmed an innocent person. And so, Wei Yuan had no intention of letting her go. And it seemed Qingyang wasn't prepared to give up without a fight, either. Thus, the two became locked in battle once more. But even with the enhancement from his new spirit infusion ability, he was still being overpowered by Qingyang with just a single hand. Just when Wei Yuan thought it was all over for him, he never imagined that Qingyang would take the Han sword pinning him down and plunge it into herself. 2 streams of clear tears streamed from the corners of her eyes. Wei Yuan was stunned. Why would you do that? Her face returning to normal, Qingyang pursed her lips into a smile. Sir, you are a kind man, and you even walked with me on this final journey. If I didn't do this myself, you might not have been able to bring yourself to strike the final blow, would you? Young Master Wei, when you arrived, you said you wanted to hear Qingyang sing a song. Sir, are you still in the mood to listen? I want to sing one last song. Upon hearing this, Wei Yuan looked toward the guqin that was holding the swords. He then picked it up. Then let me accompany your song on the guqin, Qingyang. Qingyang expressed her gratitude once more. Thank you for your trouble, sir. And then, Qingyang's clear and melodious singing voice echoed throughout the martyrs' cemetery. A moment later, the song came to an end. Wei Yuan stopped playing the zither. He wanted to say a word in the old man's defense. Actually, old Mr. Zhang has always felt very guilty. Qi Niang lowered her gaze and said softly, it's all in the past now. What's the point of bringing it up again? Besides, I don't want to forgive them. Wei Yuan sighed. Well, that's only natural. Young master, I'll take my leave now. After Qi Niang said this, her soul scattered into specks of starlight and vanished into the air. All that was left on the ground was a pair of red embroidered shoes and a stack of letters. Just then, Zhou Yi and Zan Yi walked over, supporting each other. They asked in confusion where Qi Niang had gone. Wei Yuan told them that Qi Niang's soul had shattered and returned to the earth. As they got closer, Zan Yi noticed that Wei Yuan was sitting suspended in midair as he played, and couldn't figure out how he was doing it. Wei Yuan, of course, wasn't about to reveal the secret behind his impressive pose. It was actually accomplished with the help of a few water spirits. Now that the matter with Qi Niang was resolved, Wei Yuan prepared to take his leave as well. Zan Yi, however, asked curiously, "Who exactly are you?" Wei Yuan replied that he was just an ordinary person who looks after a museum. "If you ever have the time, you should come by for a visit." With that, he left. As he was passing by the Spring Dawn Pavilion, Wei Yuan saw a tour guide telling a group of tourists about the history of the area. He mentioned the auspicious workshop, which Qi Niang had spoken of. The guide also said that the Spring Dawn Pavilion would be reopening soon, with a new opera troupe set to perform. Wei Yuan brushed past the tourists, their paths diverging as they walked away, in the misty rains of Jiangnan, amidst the towers and pavilions. How many tales of romance and sorrow have passed, and who is left to remember them? Meanwhile, on a certain mountain, a hiker named Fang Cheng had been hiking with his friends, but they were caught in a downpour. Model. For now, he had no choice but to take shelter from the rain in the forest ranger's cabin. Although he didn't see the forest ranger anywhere, but thankfully, there was a woman there. He guessed she was the forest ranger's daughter. But when Fang Cheng went out to relieve himself in the middle of the night, he noticed the light was still on in the woman's cabin. So, out of curiosity, he went over to take a peek. To his surprise, she was in there putting on makeup, even at this hour. What's more, the woman had taken off her clothes, revealing her back. That beautiful silhouette was absolutely captivating to Fang Cheng, who had been single for many years. But who would have thought, just as she had taken her clothes halfway off, the woman turned her head to look at Fang Cheng, her eyes glowing green. "This skin of mine, it's quite beautiful, isn't it?" With that, her body transformed into a horrifying skeleton. A single, seemingly ordinary drop of blood would actually seal a cursed object left behind by a vengeful spirit. This was because the man was the last crouching tiger captain of the Great Han Dynasty. It turns out that Wei Yuan, by becoming a crouching tiger captain, seemed to have inherited certain powers. His blood was imbued with a divine ability to exorcise ghosts. It had a certain restraining effect on all things supernatural and chaotic. Therefore, after the incident with the vengeful spirit Wan Qiniang had come to an end, Wei Yuan locked away the pair of red embroidered shoes that Qiniang had left behind. He brought them back and placed them safely in the museum. Then, he dripped a single drop of his own blood onto the box's lock, acting as a seal. After that, Wei Yuan's life became one of leisurely listening to music and drinking tea. He had modern technology to thank for that. The last song that Wan Qiniang ever sang had been recorded by Wei Yuan. He even uploaded it to the internet, and it received unanimous praise from netizens everywhere. Just then, an older woman appeared at the door. She seemed a bit afraid of this museum, but she still kindly gave Wei Yuan a warning. "This place, it's not exactly clean, you know. I suggest you find somewhere else to live." Wei Yuan could pretty much guess that the woman had probably been frightened by the water spirits before. Still, he was grateful for her warning. "Thank you, ma'am, but in this modern age, we believe in science. There are no such things as ghosts or monsters. Besides, as a young man, I'm full of vital energy, and I'm not afraid of those things." After sending the auntie off, Wei Yuan's waist token suddenly started vibrating. He knew another incident had occurred. He collapsed helplessly into his rocking chair. "I just got back from Jiangnan. Can't you just let me rest for a moment?" Not long after, Wei Yuan heard a woman's voice from outside the door. "Is Curator Wei in?" Wei Yuan went out to take a look, and found that the visitor was Officer Zhou Yi, whom he had met during the Qi Niang incident. He was just about to explain that he wasn't the curator, when she cut him off. "I'm here to thank you. The sword you used before was damaged. This is a thank you gift for you." Wei Yuan opened the sword box. Inside was an 8-faceted Han sword, complete with its scabbard. It felt heavy and finely crafted in his hand. Even though he didn't know much about these things, he could tell that the quality of the sword was excellent, so he felt incredibly excited. Zhou Yi said, "I'm glad you like it. This was forged by the Longchen school last year. Its craftsmanship and center of balance are comparable to the swords of ancient generals. It's very rare to see one on the market. Special operations unit happened to have one, so I requisitioned it. Consider it repayment for saving my life." After admiring his new sword, Wei Yuan suddenly put on a serious expression. "Officer Zhou, your visit. It's probably not just about this, is it?" Zhou Yi was quite frank. "Actually, I was hoping you would join us, Curator Wei. I know you're no ordinary person, Curator Wei. Let me give you a brief introduction. Starting over 100 years ago, the spiritual energy that had been dormant for nearly 1,000 years began to resurface. At first, it was the Taoists and Buddhists who discovered that their cultivation practices were starting to work again. The treasured incantations within their sects also began to show miraculous power. At that time, many schools wanted to align themselves with the Ming imperial court. But along with the possibility of cultivation, other anomalies also began to appear. Wei Yuan then asked, "Are they ghosts and monsters?" To be precise, it's every mysterious incident that has ever been recorded. At first, it caused considerable chaos and casualties. In order to minimize the impact on the lives of ordinary people, one branch of the Jinyue was responsible for suppressing these monsters. Later, when the Sakurajima Onigami Rebellion broke out, for various reasons, the Great Ming changed its name to Wa. The Jinyi Wei were disbanded as a result. Only the branch that suppressed monsters was left. This is the predecessor to the Special Operations Group. Originally, we were still able to keep these strange phenomena under control. But now, the speed of spiritual energy's revival has suddenly accelerated. Frequency of demons and monsters appearing in the world is also getting higher and higher. And you, Curator Wei, are very powerful. So we hope that you will join us. Let's vanquish demons and slay devils together. Seeing that Wei Yuan still looked a little puzzled, Zhou Yi began to explain again. Our lineage recruits disciples from both Taoism and Buddhism. We watch over the world, slaying demons and exorcising evil. In the Great Ming, we were the Jinyi Wei. Before that, in the Song, we were the Imperial City Office. In the Great Tang, the Bulong Ren. In the Sui, the Silly Tai. Tracing it all the way back 2,000 years. Starting with the Crouching Tiger captains of the Great Han. Whenever there are matters of strange powers and chaotic spirits, people like us will be there. Of course, we definitely don't have as much authority as the Jinyi Wei did. But it's not insignificant either. After she finished her explanation, Wei Yuan didn't hesitate in the slightest. He handed the offered Han sword back to her. Thank you for taking the trouble to come all this way, Officer Zhou. It's just a shame. I'm just an ordinary person who looks after a museum. As for joining the Special Operations Group, let's just forget it. Zhou Yi was extremely surprised by this. He actually refused. Meanwhile, at the Special Operations Group headquarters, several of the higher-ups also found it very strange. It turned out that on Zhou Yi's jacket, a monitoring device was flashing. It's the organization in charge of suppressing all demons and monsters in the nation. The Special Operations Group's recruitment standards were, naturally, extremely strict. The head elder of the Celestial Master Mansion never expected that someone would actually refuse an invitation to join the group. Zhou, girl, cut this punk down for me. Upon hearing this, Zhou Yi's expression turned serious, and she looked as if she was about to make a move. He had just been accidentally bumped by a passerby, and the man was about to kill him for it. This was because the man was a modern-day demon suppression officer, and carried a medallion that could detect demons and monsters. And that passerby was, in fact, a painted skin demon wearing a human facade. That's why the man struck without hesitation to subdue it. A moment ago, Zhou Yi had come to invite Wei Yuan to join the Special Operations Group. But Wei Yuan had politely declined. Although Zhou Yi was surprised, she didn't press the matter. Instead, she handed the Han sword back to Wei Yuan, explaining that the sword was a reward for saving her life, and had nothing to do with the invitation to join the Special Operations Group. So please, take it. Since she put it that way, Wei Yuan no longer felt the need to refuse. After accepting the sword, he explained, I think I prefer a quiet, ordinary life. Running all over the country. Slaying demons, that kind of life just isn't for me. Meanwhile, the elder from the Celestial Master Mansion was furious. Zhou, girl, didn't you hear me? I said cut him down. The others quickly tried to calm the elder down. We're an official organization. We can't just go around attacking people. Zhou Yi simply turned off the device. Then, she handed Wei Yuan a piece of paper, explaining that it was a permit to carry a bladed weapon. According to regulations, for those who have performed a great service in repelling a Ghost King level disaster. This is one of the permits they're eligible to apply for. It's completely legal and above board. With your level of skill, it would be a real shame if you encountered a demon but couldn't draw your sword because of mundane laws. That would be far too much of a waste. Of course, if you use this to break the law, the penalties you'll face will be even more severe than those for an ordinary person. In the end, Zhou Yi also left her phone number, telling Wei Yuan that if he ran into any trouble, he could give her a call. After explaining everything, she left in a hurry. After returning to the house, Wei Yuan saw the water ghost and the others looking as if they'd lost the will to live. He then asked them what was wrong. The eldest sister protested. There were originally a few cans of Coke in the fridge. You, sir, drank them all these past few days. What is the point of us living anymore? Wei Yuan was speechless. The problem is, you guys aren't alive to begin with. Fine, I'll go to the market this afternoon to restock. Meanwhile, in the office of the Quanxi Police Department's Special Operations Unit, Zhou Yi had just arrived by car. Hello, I'm Zhou Yi, the one in charge of this case. Could you introduce yourselves, and tell me what happened this time? The man with the glasses said, my name is Wu Shan. I was the one who initiated this mountain hike. But the other man's eyes were fixed on Zhou Yi's face, not moving at all. Zhou Yi frowned and said, sir? After being called out, the man also realized his impolite behavior. He quickly averted his gaze and said with embarrassment, sorry, officer, I zoned out for a bit. Your skin is really nice. Oh, right, my name is Fang Cheng. The Cheng, as in, achieving nothing. Time quickly flew by, and it was soon afternoon. Wei Yuan also arrived at the local market. And there, he unexpectedly bumped into Fang Cheng. The man seemed to be in a big hurry. He muttered a quick sorry and rushed away. Wei Yuan didn't pay it much mind at first. But suddenly, the token at his waist began to vibrate again. This made him think of the man from a moment ago. There was something strange about him. Meanwhile, Fang Cheng was extremely anxious. Because this skin of his was about to rot away. His eyes darted across one person after another. But none of them met his standards. It was either old skin weathered by the wind and sun, or young skin ruined by cosmetics. Actually, the one he wanted most was that Officer Zhou Yi from the police station. But given her identity, he didn't dare to make a move. Soon, he found the prey he was looking for on a side road. An elementary school student who had just gotten out of kindergarten. He had exactly the kind of naturally soft and smooth skin that he wanted. At the sight, he let out a grotesque smile. An urge began to stir inside him. He chose a little boy as his target, and began to follow behind him. But just as he was about to make his move, a large hand shot out and fiercely clamped down on Fang Cheng's neck, lifting him right up. The person who had arrived was none other than Wei Yuan, who had sensed something was wrong. At the same time, a notification appeared on his waist tablet.